Could the lack of targets given to the other Ravens wide receivers create a sort of tension between them and Lamar Jackson? Should the Ravens have been willing to pay C.J. Mosley a little more money? Does the lack of a Ravens pass rush make Marlon Humphrey the best cornerback in the league? These and many, many more questions on this episode of NFL Questions from subscribers.
And you know just what I mean. You see my boy, he like gotta made it. Boy, he's a fan and he like the Ravens. And you know just what I mean.
YouTube team, keep it clean. What's going on? It's Ingraven here with another video and another episode of NFL Questions from subscribers. This is a series where you can ask me any NFL question you want to based off of any NFL team, and we answer in a video just like this. Now, if you want to be part of NFL Questions from subscribers, all you got to do is send me a DM on Instagram, Twitter, Snapchat, or Facebook, or you can send me an email at teamkeepitclean@gmail.com. and we'll answer your question in a video like this. You can also send something to the P.O. Box if you like to. If you want to add to this wall, feel free. Shout out to my guy Sean. Shout out to Dimitri. Appreciate y'all. They have sent stuff. We got to add the helmet on here too. We got to figure that out. But anyway, appreciate y'all. Real quick, shout out to Lime. If you need any tickets to any type of events, you hit up Lime Events and tell them Ingraven Viz sent you so they can take care of you. A lot of you have already hit them up, so continue to hit them up and let them know that we told you to hit them up so they can treat you like the king or queen that you really are. So I appreciate y'all, team. Keep it clean. I love y'all, and I love you guys' questions, so let's get into them. Next question came from my boy J Brown 084. He said, yo, Ingraven, huge fan. I hate to say this to you because I like it, but you guys should not have won today. Oh, he's a Steelers fan. You guys should not have won today. It was a great game in a way, but there were so many bad calls for both teams. It's sad that Jackson played poorly and Mark Ingram didn't play that well either. My thing is, as a Steelers fan, I was starting to like this Ravens team. I'm a huge Jackson believer, but man, dude, if I was you, I would burn any and every Earl Thomas thing that I have. He is a disgrace to that city in the NFL. But the one thing that I will say is Humphrey made one of the most beautiful plays this season. Even though I was cussing up a storm when that play happened, I had to tip off my cap though to that man, and he recovered the fumble too. Man, you guys got a baller, bro. Anyway, team, keep it clean. Congrats. So, shout out to J Brown 84. So he's a Steelers fan. He said the Ravens should not have won. I can understand why you would say that. And like I said before, it was not a satisfying win. But then if you look at some of those game-changing plays, the interception, the one intended for Mark Andrews where he was interfered with and they didn't call pass interference, shouldn't have been an interception. Ravens still have ball. And Steelers don't get it in that great field position. You look at the other interception where Lamar threw it to Nick Boyle, but it slipped through and Devin Bush got it, but then it hit the ground and it moved. Shouldn't have been an interception. Ravens still have ball. But besides that, and then the catch fumble, which was really an incompletion because the receiver for the Steelers didn't have control of the ball. So we can say that the Ravens shouldn't have won. We could say the Steelers shouldn't have won. And the refs, they played too big of a part in the game, which I absolutely did not like at all. But Ravens were able to overcome. And in this game, and I said it before, the Ravens had a lot more terrible calls and a lot more larger calls that went against them than the Steelers did. A lot more, and more powerful calls, like those interceptions, or actually non-calls too. So it was still a great game with an even better outcome. Next question came from my guy Logan. He said, I agree with you. This win is the worst I've ever seen. Lamar played like garbage and there were so many missed calls. The ref was so biased towards the Steelers. I was laughing at one point. I was so mad that when the backup got knocked out, I was happy. Now looking back, I shouldn't have been, and it's wrong, but they deserved it for how biased the refs were being. Well, no, nobody deserves that. Nobody deserves to get knocked out again. No. But moving on. The Ravens need to stop running the ball. It doesn't work anymore. If we didn't have the second best corner in the league and the best kicker of all time, I would have destroyed almost everything in my house. Sorry for the paragraph. Sorry for my language. I know it's team. Keep it clean. So he just wanted to vent to team keep it clean. And I actually had to clean up some of the words that he said. So that was that. Next question came from my boy Nerome 3T Pad. He said, we need more firepower on offense because if teams take away Hollywood and Andrews, that's it for the passing game. What are your thoughts on that? Yeah, I've been saying the same thing. We just need to find ways to get other guys involved, and that's up to the coaches to do that. Next question came from my guy Baby FA2. He said, do you think we should trade for Emmanuel Sanders later in the season or Bradley Chubb? Well, Bradley Chubb's season is done, so if the Ravens traded for him, then their season would need to be done. Emmanuel Sanders, though, he got good hands. He's a pretty good receiver. If they traded for him, I wouldn't be mad at that. Because he's a solid receiver with good hands. So that'd be a cool trade. Wouldn't be anything like too flashy, but it would be a solid move. So that's the Ravens. Next question came from BB. He said, looking a bit into the future with the question, but do you think a full offseason of acquisitions and experience for players Ravens keep will be what is needed to truly address problems that we see on both sides of the ball? For example, pass rush, secondary play, O-line improvement, receiver improvement, potential coaching improvement also. I like that last one. Yeah, definitely. Because all those people on both sides of the ball and on the coaching staff would have yet another year of experience working with the same guys, working with the same team, working with the same playbook, working with the same, so that would allow them to understand it a lot better. So yeah, I agree. Next question came from my guy Frank Andrews. He said, I just wanted to let you know, between Tony Jefferson talking about all the negativity that they're hearing and now Matt Judon on talking about negativity, maybe we can do a video on supporting our team. Is more positivity through Twitter or whatever access we have, the team is feeling it. Oh yeah, they certainly feel it. And that's what social media has done, is created an environment where it can be a lot of positivity on there. You can reach out to whether it's your favorite celebrities or your favorite whoever, sports people, blah, blah, blah. And sometimes they can respond back. And they can be like, oh, cool, I just talked to this person, blah, blah, blah. But it has also created an avenue to where a lot of people can spew negativity at these people over and over and over. And they can be very toxic towards people, because social media has given everybody a voice. Whether it's a good voice, whether it's a bad voice, it gives everybody a voice. And the players, they definitely feel that. They definitely feel it. So you mentioned about maybe we can do a video on supporting our team. Is more positivity through Twitter or whatever access we have. The team is feeling it. Yeah, they definitely do. And I mean, that's just up to individuals. Like I said, the social media has given everybody a voice, and it's up to them for how they choose it. Y'all know on here we not with the negativity. We'll call the players out now if they had a poor game or whatever, they had a bad game. We'll talk about it specifically. But we, as far as going at the players and getting on them, oh yeah, no. You don't need to do all that. People going in their inbox or commenting on their pictures, oh, you suck, you this, you that. No, you don't need to do that. That's pointless. Next question came from my boy Josh Hoffman. He said, Lamar Jackson's escapability has me shaking my head lately. He's so good at getting out of the pressure. Strong, fast, and hard to bring down. Unbelievably good. But then he doesn't seem to know what to do next. Too many times he just runs right back into pressure and gets recaptured. And he almost never puts his eyes down the field again. This could become one of the best parts of his game. I'm also worried that the old offensive line is starting to scar his play because the pass protection is just hideous. To me, this is Lamar's next big development needed. That, or the Ravens get an offensive line to pass protect. How do you see this issue, and do you see it improving sooner rather than later? And congrats again on 20K. No one deserves it more. I don't know about that last part. I think there's some other people that, but no, I appreciate it, man. Appreciate you being a mod in the streams. Appreciate you supporting so much. Appreciate you helping out a lot too, and doing the extra. So thanks a lot for that, man. But for Lamar, that's some good observations right there, because yeah, he does initially avoid the initial pressure, but then he'll be like running around still in the pocket or whatnot, and I think that pressure just gets to him. That pressure gets to him, and he's like, oh man, like, and now he's getting so he becomes rattled. He becomes a little worried, because, and that's what defenses want you to do. That's exactly what they want you to do. Exactly. Because if they're getting good pressure on the quarterback, then the quarterback's going to start thinking that the clock in his head for him to stay behind the offensive line and for him to stay in the pocket, that clock, the time gets shorter and shorter on it. It gets shorter and shorter, and with Lamar, it's been getting shorter and shorter. And there have even been times where he starts like zigzagging and moving around, and there won't be any pressure. But that will be because so much pressure has gotten back there already in that game, and now he's just used to it, and he's expecting it. So, yeah, the offensive line has a lot of work to do. If they improve, then he could improve, and that would take the team just a super long way. Next question came from IC0018. He said, I got a good question. By the way, keep up the work. Nothing but love and prosperity to you, bro. Appreciate that, IC. Thank you, man. He said, I see Lamar Jackson and Hollywood are like the closest of friends, and it converts over to the field. Now, do you think this could stir something with the wide receivers who aren't getting any looks? I've checked tape, and other wide receivers are open. It could, because guys could get jealous, and guys could get, especially, regardless if the team is winning or not, but especially in losses, it could spark other guys to be like, man, like, this dude only look, and it could be already happening, but it could make other guys be like, man, this dude only looking for Hollywood every single time. Like, look at me, hit me up, do something. Come on, man. All he doing is looking at 15, and that's it. And they may see the energy, they may see the vibe that Lamar and Hollywood got off the field too, and they may get a little jealous. So hopefully, not even for jealousy's sake, but for the team's sake and for the offense's sake, Lamar and the coaching staff and all of them can get the other wide receivers involved a lot more. Next question came from a guy, Flirt Nowinski. He said, I don't wish injuries on anybody, but now that Tony Jefferson is injured, the young guns get a chance to play. You think this is going to be a good thing for our defense? I think so, because the pay before play thing is killing us. I think they'll do fine. Chuck Clark, again, the jury's still out on really both of them, because we haven't seen either one of them play significantly like that. Well, Chuck Clark has gotten some decent playing time, but now he's a starter again for the first time since last year when Tony Jefferson was hurt. So, I mean, it's a wait-and-see thing. I think it all just depends on his communication. A lot depends on Peanut, how he's relaying the plays to the players and whatnot. And they just got to make sure they work on that, and they have their timing down. They have their communication down, and they just wrap up and tackle, man. Now he continued. He said, also, do you think all the shuffling of the linebackers is going to hurt us? Especially how complex our defense is, and not to knock anybody we signed, but Earl is sharp and sometimes he's lost. So I think we should stick with what we got. You can't keep shuffling things around and expect for it to get better. We have players, and they just have to stick it out through adversity, in my opinion. What do you think? That's a real good question, man. Real good question. Right now they got Josh Bynes and they got Peanut out there. I think they could stick with that. But Kenny Young was the odd man out last week as far as being inactive, because LJ Fort was active. And it's possible that they do that again. They may feel like, hey, if because the linebacker play last week wasn't bad. They did have some times when the middle of the field got open, but it wasn't as bad as it's been. So that last shuffle that they made at the linebacker position, it may just be the last shuffle for a while. And I completely get what you're saying, though. Completely get what you're saying with how you should ride it out, and you don't want to keep making change after change after change after change after change after change after change. But you do want guys in there that are going to be able to get the job done, and you want consistency. So I think Josh Bynes, based off of that first game, and that's his first game after just 3 practices, and he played like that. So I'm looking forward to seeing a lot more of him too. So real good question. Appreciate you, man. Next question came from my boy Ty Mills Music. Shout out to him and shout out to his girl. They recently had a baby, so shout out to them, man. He said, what's good, Engraven? Hope all is well. I got a question from subscribers for you. But before I ask the question, I just want to remind everyone, we are a young team, which means the majority of our team are new to the NFL, which means we will go through growing pains. So I'm very happy we got the win and they kept fighting. That's a really good point. Very, very good point. And that's something that initially when after that Pittsburgh game, something that I hadn't really thought about. I wasn't thinking about that, and that is a very good point. They are a very young team. They are very inexperienced at a lot of different. At a lot of positions. So that can sort of go against them in some ways. But with this experience that they're getting, especially in a win like that, that can be a positive for them. But anyway, He said, after watching these past games and struggles, how many L's do you think the Ravens will have this year? Probably 7. Probably 7, I think. Then that was my original game prediction, season prediction, whatever, for the Ravens. So I would say 7. So, good question. Next question came from my guy, Andre Kasama. Shout out to my guy, man. He big supporter, man. Big supporter. So I appreciate it, man. And he said, this was during the game, he said, if we win, they got to pay Humphrey. They got to pay Humphrey. And we did, and they do. But anyway, he said, shout out to Team Keep It Clean family and for 20,000 subscribers. Thank you for that, man. He said, I got a question. If you can choose 2 of these 4 players right now, because I don't think we have the money for all of them, what would be your priority due to the injuries of Tony Jefferson and Marquise Brown with his foot not looking good? So, if you could choose 2 of these 4 players right now, who would they be? Stephon Diggs, Chris Harris, Von Miller, and Jalen Ramsey. Well, Von Miller will be one for the pass rush. And the next one, excuse me. Von Miller will be one for the pass rush. And based off of what you're talking about, and based off of the injuries, and based off of the importance, it would be Stephon Diggs. Based off of what I would want the most, will be Von Miller and Ramsey. But based off of the importance to the team and what they really need, Von Miller for sure. And I mean, really, with the wide receivers, with Hollywood's injury, it's not even that we don't have another wide receiver on the team. We just got to get other guys involved. They got to find ways to get other guys involved. So you know what? Von Miller and Von Miller and Jalen Ramsey then. Von Miller and Jalen Ramsey. So I had to change that, man. Because I don't... Stephon Diggs would be nice to have too. I wouldn't be mad at that at all. And he's a playmaker. Yards after the catch guy. He can catch. But we haven't been getting any other receivers involved. So, I mean, if he came over, they would really be forced to get him involved because that would be a big acquisition. But they need to take care of their own guys first, man. They need to get their own guys involved in the game. Like you got these guys out there for a reason. It's like teams could almost put 10 people on Hollywood Brown. You know, it's like the Ravens still wouldn't throw to the other guys. They need to get the other guys involved. Lamar got to look their way. They got to get open. They got to make catches. Coaches got to get plays with them involved. They got to find ways to get them involved. It's a real good question, man. Next question came from a guy, Deaconism. He said, what's up, bro? I was at the game yesterday. It was disgusting to watch. I left the game with a major attitude. Clear pass interference on Mark Andrews, and I don't know why Hobbs didn't challenge it. Clear drop on the Bush interception. The Earl Thomas hit was just unfortunate, not intentional. Meanwhile, they never showed these replays on the Jumbotron. I'm not trying to blame the refs, but they were horrible, and to top it off, they called a roughing the passer on the Steelers, which was bogus. That call gave them a reason to feel like they were cheated, and I understand it because it had been happening to us all day. And the kick by Tucker was wide left and hooked inside like, wow, I was mentally exhausted. Trust me, we all were too. Not as much as you because you were actually there live. Oh, that had to be something. Because that game was just crazy. It was crazy. It was stressful. It was tiring. It was exhausting. So, yeah, we felt your pain, but we didn't feel all of your pain because we weren't there. Next question came from a guy, Infamous Fonzie. He said, my mans, we got the win today, but it came with some costly casualties. My question for you is, with the injuries to the secondary and the obvious hole still at pass rushing, what do you believe is the better trade for the team? A move for Von Miller, as a few rumors suggest, or still pursue Jalen Ramsey? Congratulations on the channel's continued success and growth. Appreciate that, Fonzie. Thank you, man. The better move would be Von Miller. The better move would be Von Miller because Von Miller would immediately improve so many players. Jalen Ramsey wouldn't improve so many players as much as a Von Miller would. Von Miller would, and I'm not saying, oh, Jalen Ramsey is a bad player because he's great. I love him. But if you bring a Von Miller, that improves the pass rush immediately. So that helps out Matt Judon right away. Right away, that helps out Matt Judon. because you have a pass rusher that teams actually got to prepare for and prepare against and account for. That gives you, and with having a better pass rusher, that gives the linebackers less time that they got to cover, the cornerbacks less time that they got to cover, because your pass rush is immediately upgraded. So it would be Von Miller. Next comment came from a guy, Levi's24. He said, "Why does Earl Thomas sound like he just got finished crying during every interview?" Let's keep going, man. Next question came from a guy, MMan9021. He said, "First, I just want to give you a shout out, Engraven. Keep doing your thing, and congrats to the Ravens getting the dub in Pittsburgh and snapping a 2-game skid. But my question is, why can't the Ravens seem to beat a 500 or playoff team? It's like we pull off or play great against bad and mediocre teams, but struggling against playoff and Super Bowl contenders. What is it going to take to beat teams like the Seahawks, the Patriots, the Texans, and when we play the Browns again?" Well, it's going to take the Ravens to play their game. It's going to take the Ravens to play their game and to actually really be able to scheme up against these teams, because Ravens just haven't seemed to do that, and they tend to get away from their game. So, and it takes fundamentals too. Like with the losses that the Ravens have had to the Chiefs and the Browns, in the Chiefs game, the biggest problem was they got away from their game. They didn't play their game. They tried to play Chiefs game, and they didn't play their game. They got to the running game. They got to it a little too late, and they weren't able to use it as effectively as they could, because Chiefs run defense, I mean, they're not that good. But Ravens didn't take advantage of that because they were trying to play Chiefs ball instead of Ravens ball. And with the Browns game, fundamentals terrible in that game. Worst game this season so far, fundamentals wise. They were not tackling, they were not wrapping up, they were not setting the edge. It was bad. And then guys was just open. Guys was wide open all game, especially the tight end. Communication issues, again, fundamentals. So that's what has been their biggest problem. And that's what it's going to take for them to really beat really good teams like the ones you mentioned, the Seahawks, Patriots, Texans, the Rams, when we play the Browns again, and really any team. They just got to be so much better than they have been. Next question came from my guy, G Glizzy. He said, "In my honest opinion, I think Lamar played a good game other than the 2 interceptions. Of course, but 2 of them weren't his fault. One bounced off the hands of the tight end, and the other one, Nick Boyle had just got it taken out of his hands. Lamar doesn't really throw interceptions, so I think this was a good win because the defense played better. The only reason it was close was because of the turnovers. I believe this is a good win to build off of." It is, and with those 2 interceptions, they are not on Lamar at all. Neither one of them were. And both of them were due to poor the refs. The refs just made bad no calls and bad calls. The one that was pass interference, and the other that where it wasn't an interception. So those definitely helped keep the game a little closer. And they just killed momentum too, and yeah, it was just ugly to watch. But yeah, it is a good win to build off of, because for them to have overcome all of that and still won in Pittsburgh, it's pretty good. Next question came from my guy Don DeMello. He said, "What's good, man? Bless you and the family. Hope all is well. Now, coach is saying TJ is out with an ACL injury, maybe even more. Gives the Joker a chance to start versus Cincinnati." And I told him I think they'll still start Chuck Clark, but the Joker get a lot more playing time. And then he said, "What's the chances of Kenny Young being traded?" And I was like, oh wow. The chances of Kenny Young being traded, that would really depend on how they feel about this guy. Because Kenny Young with a 4th-round pick last year, Josh Bynes is just here for a year for now. LJ Ford just here for a year for now. But I think that would definitely send a message. They traded Kenny Young. Because not saying that he's been all that, because he hasn't, but if they were willing to trade a Kenny Young 4th-round pick from last year like that, chances of that happening though, I'd say about 45%. Next question came from my guy Mike Harrington. He said, "Hey brother, haven't talked with you in forever. Been so busy. Anyways, with Jefferson out for the year, do you think this will make the Ravens trade for Jalen Ramsey and maybe Von Miller? Everyone is saying we're gonna be active before the deadline." So yeah, he saw that rumor. I don't think that I don't think that the injury to Tony Jefferson would make the Ravens want Jalen Ramsey any more than they already may have, because they play two different positions, but obviously both in the secondary, but two different positions. I do think Von Miller would be an option, would be something that they would be somebody that they would look at, because he would help everybody on the defense. But I still think Ravens are looking at somebody else that doesn't have that national attention or that national spotlight. Next question came from my guy Derek Sauls. He said the Ravens organization has had a tendency to be cheap or frugal, depending on who you ask. I myself even said that we shouldn't pay guys like C.J. Mosley and Zadarius Smith the type of money they were asking for. Now, looking at our defense, I feel we are missing guys like them. Zadarius gets more pressure by himself than our six-man pass rush. Oof. CJ, on the other hand, couldn't be valued by the stat sheets. He was the defense's QB and made those around him better. Do you think the Ravens should have opened up the checkbook a little and worked harder to keep these guys? Yeah, man, especially when you look back at it. And me too. I didn't appreciate it as much. I didn't appreciate him as much as I should have. He did help so much in run defense, with the screen games, in zone cover. He helped a lot. Very smart, high football IQ. So yeah, looking back at it, Ravens they definitely should have tried a little harder. Because yeah, we lost some key guys all over that defense. Next question came from my guy Colton. He said, everyone's saying we're going to lose to the Rams, Pats, Seattle Seahawks, 49ers, and Texans. They got to realize those games can go both ways, good or bad. It's 50-50 at the moment. What you thinking, Raven? Yeah, it's any given Sunday. If I had to choose right now, based off of this Ravens team and how they playing right now, I would say we lose to all them guys. But hopefully, Ravens, hopefully they don't win. Hopefully they don't lose, excuse me. Hopefully they can shock the world. Next question came from my guy LJ Swervin. He said, what's up, man? Quick question from subscribers. Due to TJ suffering a season-ending injury and being out, who do you expect to be given the green dot? Well, they said they're giving it to Peanut. And could it be given to Earl Thomas late in the year as he evolves in the defense more? Keep up the good work and great content. Yeah, I think so. That's a really good point, too. With Earl being in front of or behind everybody and everything being in front of him, they could give him the green dot if he really gets it. And with him setting up everybody else, I think that would mean he would be comfortable in the defense. And if he's setting up everybody else and calling the plays and whatnot, then I think that would allow him to have more freedom, because he would know where guys are supposed to be. He would know where guys are supposed to line up, and he would know where guys should be at and when they should be there. So I think that would give him more flexibility as a player in order to try to make more plays. So hopefully we can get to that point. We'll see. Next question came from the Joker 811. Oh my God, Dimitri. He said, do you think we should get DJ Swearinger? Not really. I think they should just roll with the guys that they got. This could be a big, and they're going to be the growing pains, but this could be big for Chuck Clark. It could be big for Deshaun Elliott, because those guys may even need to be counted on next year too if TJ's injury goes longer like they said it may. Next question came from my guy Andrew. He said, when you compare the pass rushes of top corners teams, Stephon Gilmore has a good pass rush, Jalen Ramsey has a great pass rush, and Marlon Humphrey is left with just Judon and McPhee. Do you think the lack of pass rush makes Humphrey the best corner in the league? Oh, that is a great question, and I love how you set that up, because yeah, the pass rush, if you got a good pass rush, then that allows the corners to have a lot more freedom, flexibility, and they can play their game a lot better. But Marlon Humphrey, he ain't got no pass rush, and he's playing amazing. So wow, that would definitely put him up there. He's definitely up there with definitely top 5. We got Stephon Gilmore. Jalen Ramsey ain't played the past 2 weeks with his whole back thing that they got going on. Stephon Gilmore. Who else is one of the top corners? Marlon Humphrey. Definitely throw him in there. But Man, I can't really think of anybody off the top of my head, but yeah, those other teams, they have the pass rush and we don't. But Marlon is still out there looking great. So just imagine if Ravens actually did have a pass rush and he could look even better than he has been looking now. Pay him everything right now.